welcome to another Roll Camera podcast. Today we have another special guest, someone that we've worked with and has gone on to do some amazing films. His name is Kyle Rankin. He is a writer and a director, and we're lucky enough to have him on here today. So welcome, Kyle. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's nice to see you both.
Good to see you as well. And that's my co-host, Mr. Steve Hiller. Wave, Steve, so we know who it is.
Captain Steve Hiller.
Captain,
Steve
we
Hiller.
have to use the preferred rank.
Well, no, that's from Independence Day.
Oh, is it?
Remember his name? His name was Captain Steve Hiller.
Oh, right.
I mean, who knows where that came from, but that was his name. So. And I was in the Marines. I was in the Marines too, so it was weird.
Oh, that is.
So I claim I claim it. So.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so we've worked with Kyle on Battle of Shaker Heights, and you might remember that was with Shia LaBeouf, who did an amazing job. And I thought when we worked with him, he was a great actor, a great kid. I really enjoyed working with him. How did you cast him? How did that work?
Yes, I totally agree. Shia was electric. Let me remember the casting process, because they're all so long and drawn out, and you never feel like you're going to get the right people, and you get scared to death, and the clock is ticking, and who are we going to finally decide on? I can't say that I was responsible for getting Shia in the room, and I can't remember the name of the casting director, but kind of last minute, he said, hey, there's this guy, he's on Even Stevens, it was this Disney show, he's blowing up, I'm hearing from all of my people that he's super talented, energetic, incredible actor. And yeah, as soon as, it's like seeing the person you're going to marry. As soon as Shia entered the room, I was like, who is this force of nature?
Yeah,
and his audition was kind of off the charts. There was kind of no one else that had. He was above the picture, rather than a lot of people come in. They're kind of like, well, the picture could help them out, but he was just like, whoa. I'm like, ooh, this kid could put this movie on his back, and we're all gonna do really well from it. It just felt like, can we catch that tiger by the tail? And luckily we did. So, I think he was. Go on.
No, I'm sorry. I could see him bringing that to an audition. He was that kind of a character, and he was just so easy to work with. So.
Agreed. Yeah, I've always said he was the kind. I think he was 15 at the time, but and you guys, I'm sure you remember, he could enter any room, any space with a bunch of adults, and it didn't feel like, oh, this is a kid talking to us. It felt like, wow, here's this startling, alive person that we should all take. And he could make a group of adults laugh, in a way that what 15-year-old can be like. Oh, like, I mean,
was he only 15? God,
yeah, because remember, he learned how to drive for Shaker Heights. Remember, they put him in that Jeep.
That's right.
Because we're like, it's the driving scene, and he's like, I don't have my license. I have no idea how to drive. We're like, what? So I think a couple grips took him out, and it was like.
Because I remember he had to drive up one day, and
Yep.
Yeah, that was. I never thought about the fact that he was that young. That's crazy.
Yeah, imagine learning to drive, and then we throw you in like a 1942 Willys Jeep immediately. It's like the brakes were like, it was intense for him, but he did it.
That actress in from Queen's Gambit, Joy, what her name is.
Oh yeah.
She was just on a talk show. She's doing that TV series that wild and crazy series where she's driving, and she said she had never learned to drive either. She's almost 30. She said she'd never learned to drive. She was learning to drive on the set.
She's probably a New York person. A lot of New Yorkers have no idea.
I mean, she still has no license, but she says, I can drive, but I was learning while we were shooting. And
whoa, amazing.
It's pretty funny. So. Yeah, I can't think of her name. Taylor Joy. So, yeah.
I remember talking with Shia at one point, and I think it was the day that he was supposed to do that driving. And I asked him, I said, well, how did you get started? He goes, well, I knew I wanted to be an actor. And my mom was like, well, find a way to do it. And he said, so I just got the phone book and started calling every agent I could possibly find. I said,
Yeah.
you do that? And he goes, yeah, that's
15.
what I did. It's like,
Yeah, no, it's amazing, and I think he's still, his career has gone to many different places. I think he's still with John. I forget his manager's last name, but he's been with this guy John since he was 12 or something, and they're still together. So, yeah, he still reps him.
amazing.
And that was a phone book. Yeah, Yellow Pages cold call. So.
Wow. Shia's career, it's kind of been up and down lately, but he had some moments, but he seems to be making a nice comeback. So.
It was an incredible time. I remember, like, right after the three of us worked with Shia, then it was like I, Robot. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's with Will Smith, and then it was the new Indiana Jones. It was like, what the steps were. Fascinating to watch, and it was exciting to watch because it was like, wow.
Yes. And he did that tank movie.
Fury, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Fury. He did Fury. So,
Yeah.
And then all the robot films, he did a series of
Transformers.
those. Transformers. Yeah.
Yeah, we offered him. And Tom Ackerman, who we all know, shot another movie I did called Infestation, and it was not a big budget, but we offered the lead first to Shia. And I remember he told me, he's like, Kyle, I'm making so much money on these Transformers movies. He's like, I just made $5 million. I'm like, I get it. He's like, I'm going to do the next one. I'm like, I totally get it. Of course you are. So.
I don't need you anymore. So.
But I like that he was just honest about it. He wasn't like, He's like, I can't say no. It's millions and millions. I'm like, I'm sure we were offering him. We're probably gonna what do you call it? Schedule F them or whatever for $70,000 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, at least he talked to you, right? And didn't
but I
lay
could
you
see.
off.
But I could see that. Plus, it's like if I have that much money in the bank, if I'm between Transformer movies, do I just want to hang out? Do I just want to travel a little bit? So
yes, of course. Yeah, I would have done the exact same.
Yeah. I'm curious about the casting. Like, the latest film is Run, Hide, and Fight.
Yeah.
Isabel was phenomenal. And
no, totally. She was another amazing find.
Yeah.
She was coming off of she had done kind of a Netflix show. It's the name of two young gals. I forget the title, but she was really wanting to find her definitive role and do something special. And Run, Hide, Fight has, it's a tough subject matter. It involves a school shooting, and she was all about being in the movie. And every character at casting I pulled aside later and I said, I'm offering this to you. I really like you for this. I just want you to, don't answer right away, but go home and sleep on it. Do you want to be in this movie? Because I don't know how it's going to be received and where it's going to go. So, and they all luckily came around and said they wanted to do it. But Isabel also was like a force in the room. So, yeah.
Now, that film was pre-Uvalde, Texas. Shooting. It was pre, and then seeing Tree Williams was heartbreaking. So obviously,
I know.
That was like, who knew that was going to happen? But now, my curiosity is when you're prepping a film like that. You wrote it. It's like, how do you find a location like the school? Obviously they're going to see the script, because it's pretty rough. How do you find a school that says, well, okay, plus you're going to get all these kids. There's a ton of kids in it, and their parents all have to. How does that happen? What's the process?
That was a guy named Dallas Saunier optioned the script, and then said, and he was living in the Dallas area, and he said, hey, one of my employees just said there's a school down in Red Oak, Texas, about half an hour south of Dallas, that the town doesn't know what to do with because it was a middle school, and now they're thinking about turning it into a community center. We're talking, guys, about a school. When I went there to shoot, I was opening up lockers, and there was notes from chemistry class. I'm like, this is like...
So the school, it wasn't being used anymore?
No, it was just completely empty.
Oh.
And I don't even know if anyone asked to read the script. It was just, okay, there you go. And it was kind of meant to be. It was just kind of perfect. And then the community we had no problem filling the classrooms, and it was just cool. I had no idea that Texas was so diverse. There was just lots of races and faces. I'm like, wow, Dallas has it going on as far as it's going to really look cool, this movie. I'm very proud of that one. And it was, we lost Treat Williams. Was it earlier this year that he was?
That was last year, yeah.
Oh, was it? But Treat was hilarious. We really bonded over Maine because he was living in He had a beautiful spread in Vermont, but he loved to go to Maine, where I'm from. And then he was just so funny. He was. We were shooting an outside shot with him one time, and sometimes the sun is just blasting down on the actors, and you can't have that. So it was kind of a, what do they call it when you take like a huge diffusing thing and you get a crane and you just bring it up into the
Yeah.
sky so that they're kind of under a
Put a silk over them,
yeah. So we had to like pause. Let's just we got to put that silk up. Treat, go take a half an hour. And of course it ends up being an hour, and then he finally comes back out, and I said, sorry for the wait, Treat, but we just had to rig this entire, and he could see that it was like sandbags and ropes and cranes, and it was just so funny. He always loved to play the role of a huge star, so he just looked it up at it and he just said, I don't like it, get rid of it. And it was just very funny.
That's funny. Well, plus he has the white hair, and the sun, that's going to be a big deal problem too.
I mean, maybe like he's one of those guys, like maybe best head of hair in the film business ever. I mean, his hair, I would see it in person and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
It's
And
so
he's got a
thick and beautiful.
White,
So that was
thick white hair, yeah.
Yeah, and we would text, and became a friend. We went out to dinner a couple times during the shoot, and that was incredibly sad that he was killed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Some lady in a car ran into him on his motorcycle, right?
yeah,
I mean, he was on the bike, but it wasn't his fault. It was crazy.
yeah. No, it was actually a young actor in
Oh,
the neighborhood, because they'd kind of met before. It was a
Oh.
young community theater guy who has said they've of course felt terrible, and they've settled all of that. But man, that was it's just he would tell that guy, that is a man with some amazing stories. He had a great quote. He said, I have the distinction of being in the worst movie by every great director you know.
Okay. Well, but that was, I mean, I hope he wasn't including that film.
I think I probably said that. But I love when he like Prince of the City, like everything. If you look at his filmography, you're like, he worked with all the greats. He just happened to, his didn't catch fire, or whatever.
Yeah, but that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, your resume is pretty good. I mean, your films are good. It's like it's the same thing. It's like how does that catch fire? I mean, people know who you are, but like I would rank you with some better directors than what people think. So.
Oh, thank you very much.
No, I mean, even watching this film, Run and Hide film, it's like I was so impressed with the continuity in terms of her look, how it changed accordingly, like with in terms of the hair and the wardrobe. It's like the progress was beautifully done. It's like it just all worked. It's like, I don't know how many days it took, but from each scene, like somebody really had to be on top of, what she's going to look like after doing this and after doing this, after doing this.
Yeah.
It all worked, and it's like, she's great on camera. And the kid, Kristen, he was amazing too. So,
it's a great cast and great crew. I mean, it was really, and the older I get, the more I direct, the less I say. It's all about finding great craftsmen, great people. And then, anytime the great wardrobe designer was one of her first big shows, but she'd be like, what do you think out of these three things? What do you think? Because I want you to be invested in it. She's like, well, I absolutely think this one. Let's do that. And I kind of did that across the board, and it paid a lot of dividends because it was, it really worked.
Plus, they had to be on top of the changes in the story because every scene she was a little more beat up and a little more weathered, and the wardrobe had to stay with that. I was impressed with how that continuity worked all the way through the story, and somebody was really on top of that. So
I had a great DP named Darren Moran, and I was just talking to him. Some friends put us together, and then when we were speaking, he said a cool thing. He's like, his plan for the movie was like, the X and Y axes, and I was like, yeah. He's like, what if we shot this always on a Z axis? We're always either pushing in or pulling out, and I just thought that was really. He's like, it's such the movie has such movement to it. What if we're always going with her and going forward? And I just really liked that. So that's what we did all the time.
I mean, the hallways really presented that opportunity. If the camera wasn't moving, she was. So it was always something
Totally.
like that. That all
Yeah.
worked. That was a good idea.
But yeah, I
I
think we
was,
had,
yeah.
never enough time. I think we had 25 days or something. But
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean, it
so
was,
filmmakers, yeah, what this
you can
guy
do it.
did in 25 days,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, watch the film.
Seriously,
Watch the film.
Kyle.
Be aware the film is rough, but watch the film. It's really well done. So,
Dang, well, that's
and
one of my sadnesses about the movie is it's kind of behind a paywall. My We premiered at the Venice Film Festival in Italy. It was amazing. It was lovely. We got some great reviews, some horrible reviews, and then it was purchased by kind of a right wing organization, and they have it behind a
ooh,
paywall, and they say it's doing great for them, but the initial thing was always supposed to be that they would have it behind that paywall for a couple of years and then it would be out on Prime or whatever. But
oh,
I think it's doing too well for them to kind of
oh,
release it, which sucks because it's like, come
oh,
on, guys. There's lots of, I think a lot of everyone involved in the film would like to see it out there more in the world. So,
yeah.
so
Now, what
yeah.
would be, I mean, a right wing, what would be their interest in? What does that
Guns?
promote for them? I mean, but it doesn't promote guns. It's just the opposite. So,
No, I mean, I kind of made it for everyone. See, there was a lot of reviews. There was like, how dare they make a movie about, I think they were, how dare they make a movie that I got a lot of, hate comments sent to me like, this is, you're doing this basically on the backs of the victims of any of these shootings. And I was like, what?
yeah,
Because Thomas Jane, who's in the movie, does a great job too. He got a message from one of the mothers from Columbine thanking him for the movie. So I'm just like,
yeah,
okay, so we're all over the place as to where we. I don't know. Unfortunately, I wrote the movie and directed it, but you don't own it at the end of the day. And then the producer said that no one else was offering, or there was an offer that was kind of lower. He's like, but this organization is paying the entire budget plus some, so we can pay back all the investors. It was that kind of thing, and I was like,
yeah, yeah.
and
It's hard to turn that down.
yeah,
But like you say, you hope at some point they'll release it to
yeah,
to,
I hope
Yeah.
to
so.
a bigger
I,
to a
Yeah,
bigger
I hope
audience.
that for you because
Yeah,
I think
thanks.
everyone needs to see this. I
yeah, I do
enjoyed,
too.
not enjoyed, but I saw the sort of a through line, this is just from my mind, about how everyone had voices, that they were, you know, they had,
Oh yeah. Oh, you're right. That's cool.
yeah,
Right.
because
Like
her mom,
yes.
right? And at the end of the movie, when the dad is in the police car, he said, well, sometimes I still talk to her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she said
And then you had the
nothing.
gunman who was
Yeah.
hearing voices, and somebody else made a reference about that as well. So I picked up on that. I didn't know if that was meant to be, front and center, or that's
No,
just
I
what
think
I
that
picked up on.
Linda, that's cool, and I've learned something about my own movie, so that's cool.
Well, I thought it was interesting at the end when her dad said that I talked to her, she didn't say anything because I mean she
Yeah.
did too, but she
Yeah.
said nothing. She didn't. I thought she was going to say, "Well, so do I," but she said nothing. I thought that was interesting. She just didn't.
Yeah, it's
She just
really. I mean, that was. I had to learn that lesson, but when you let the audience add two and two, they love you forever. You
Yeah,
don't say.
yeah.
I look at some of my early writing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not leaving any room for the audience to do some
Yeah.
math and enjoy putting this together with that, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I agree with you, because sometimes there's too many movies where it's like they're feeding you everything. In the beginning, I didn't realize that her mother was dead. I just thought she was there. She had her head wrapped with, because she
Well,
had cancer.
at first.
Yeah,
but
at
then
first.
Yeah.
didn't-
And I
yeah.
didn't get that. And then, when we see her the second time, I got it.
yeah,
And I like that you didn't tell us that. And that goes to what you just said. It was nice to be able to figure things out and go, oh, I understand. One of the movies that does that, I think, brilliantly is Tinker Tailor's Soldier
Oh, yeah.
Spy.
yeah.
I mean, if you're not thinking about it, you don't know what the movie's about. And I like that. And I thought that's what you
Yeah.
did with this movie. I really do.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks. Yeah, yeah. Like a favorite of mine is Michael Clayton, and I feel like I don't know. That's such a special world. I know nothing about what it is to be a a high-powered lawyer fixer guy, but that movie, yeah, you learn something and you feel like it's leading you nicely, and yeah,
Yeah.
it lets
No,
you be smart along with them. Yeah.
right. Nothing. You didn't. It wasn't. One of those things like, oh, I know what's happening next. No, I
Yeah.
didn't.
Oh,
And
that's cool. That's
I
cool.
love that. Yeah. And
Uh,
it seems like all your movies have you really trying to keep things current as well.
yeah. Yeah.
And that was very current. Yeah.
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 Well, it's funny. I thought of that maybe around 2010 was when I first started mentioning it to my wife, and she said, but I was too scared of it, maybe for 5 or 6 years, and then I'd
Yeah.
mention it again. She's like, "You mentioned that several times a year. You should just write it," and that's kind of how
Yeah,
it
just
started.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, it's a tough subject. So you
Yeah.
have to find the right doors to open people to. I mean, as a director and writer, I mean, who do you go to get a film like that financed? Who has to? I mean, what is your process for that? So.
Yeah, that's where, a good agent comes in, but so I'm at UTA, and a great agent there named Charlie, and he read it, and then he sent it around, and it was there was a young exec at Paramount that really wanted to make it, and I was like, yes, great, because I wrote this for everyone.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't, he hit against that, saying, he's like, man, a lot of the younger people here are unafraid of this, and we have gone to the older guard here, and they are shutting it. They're like, we're not kids with guns, kids getting killed. No way. That was what we kept hearing, and then it was.
But that was. I thought it was important in that respect. So,
you and me both,
it's
but
important to talk about that because
yeah,
it's obviously something that's happening. So.
Well,
I
and
think
especially in a rural area where farmers, people like that, they have guns.
yes,
Well,
totally.
plus the
Right.
fact that it was pre-Uvalde, and I thought in the film, like Tree Williams and his police, they kind of did what they did at Uvalde. They didn't really respond the way they
Exactly.
should have. And like
I know, and
they
it's been
they-
creepy to see. Yeah,
they hung around outside a little too long while she was doing, and her dad was getting involved, and she was involved,
Yeah.
and they were hanging around a little too long with the news and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but that's what happened to Uvalde. Nobody.
Well,
went
you're
there.
reminding me too, because I wrote it, and UTA really liked it, and so did my manager, and then all of a sudden Parkland happened in Florida.
Wow.
And that was so creepy because that had almost like I had in my movie. I have a security guard who's pretty much useless. He pisses his pants, and he's more worried about changing his pants than. And that was oddly similar to what happened.
And
That,
I mean,
there
in
wasn't
real life,
pants pissing, but there was an ineffectual guard who I could go in there, but I'm not gonna. And then
Yeah.
he was
Right.
prosecuted later.
He
Yeah.
did not. Yeah, he hung
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah,
But
that
now-
scene when I saw it, I was like, "What? Get your cell
Yeah.
phone. Let's go." Yeah.
Well, I
you're
mean, but the
absolutely
kid,
right.
Yeah.
the kid made the comment that he's a security guard with no weapon. So it was like,
Yes.
I mean, he was pretty ineffectual in that respect. So,
Right.
I mean, that was a good point. It's like, I mean, so like, what do we do about that? Do we give guns to security guards or not? So that's
Right.
big. It's still
Yeah.
a big question because he had.
And I like those human moments. Like he could have just run to the
Yeah.
principal right then with his pants pissed on, but his
Yeah,
own
with chain.
he couldn't.
His vanity.
Because they say that one of the people's biggest fear, yes, speaking in public and all that, but it's more people can't. People are worried about are you worried about having a heart attack? Well, I'm worried about having a heart attack in public. It's like people can't deal with it would be the loss of control in front of people is what they think of first.
Well,
Yeah.
it's an interesting story. My wife was out jogging one day, and this was a few years ago, and my kids were in junior high, and she fell on the street and came home and told my daughter, and my daughter was like, "Did anybody see you? Whose house were you in?" Like she was worried about
Yes.
if one of her friends had seen her. So
Yes,
that was
of
all
course.
she. Not are you okay, but who saw you? Like it was hysterical. But that's the kind of the same thing. It's like,
Yeah.
so funny, so junior
Well,
high. So.
And as far as shootings, they always say somebody or you're once or twice removed from somebody who's been in a mass shooting. Well, Steve's family, his son, his daughter-in-law, grandchildren, and his wife were in the
Highland Park Parade.
Highland Park Parade.
My
Yeah, I live in Highland Park. They were They were right uptown here when that happened,
Holy.
and you know, my son said he grabbed his kid. He knew it was gunshot, although he'd never been in combat, but he grabbed his kids and ran.
Oh my
And
gosh.
my wife was there too. She lost her phone. She was running and falling, but
Holy
talk about
Steve.
sobering. So Linda and
Oh
I
my
were
God.
here. We were here at my house, and prepping. We were going to go to D.C. to do some interviews, and every police car from every town around was whizzing by our house. It's like,
Whoa.
it
Oh
was
my
crazy.
gosh. That is very scary.
It,
was
yeah,
scary.
it really was.
But that was the same kind of situation I thought about this film, that the culprit, escaped with the students. Now
Yes, yes.
this Highland Park guy did the same thing. He climbed down the roof and just kind of meandered and walked away with everybody else, and nobody
Right.
knew who he was.
Oh
It was the same idea, and that my wife watched it too, and she said that's the same thing the kid in Highland Park did. He just blended in with the crowd, and
Oh my.
but Zoe saw him. You know, she
Yes.
saw him and knew, but the police didn't know who he was. And
Right.
They thought he'd burned up. So
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I
it was good.
really loved it because when he was, you know, when you see the guy sort of burned up on the ground, I was like, yeah, but nobody checked him. I remember
Yes.
having that, and then when something catches her eye, you see her and she sees the guy walking. I was like, that son of a bitch.
you know,
So
plus
great.
he led the guy away with a bucket of flammable, so we knew something
Right.
was. We didn't know exactly what was up, but we knew something was up. But
Yeah.
when I first saw him walking away because he had the hat on and stuff, I wasn't sure who that was at first.
Yes.
'Cause
Oh,
he
cool.
blended. It worked for me too because I didn't know who
Absolutely.
he was. She knew, but I didn't know who he was at first. But that was pretty
Well,
good.
I thought he was going to go get the dad's gun and come back and start leveling more people.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But I love the ending. I love where
Yeah.
you left it. I love it was a high and wide, and she's just walking away.
telling them where he is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we're giving too much away, but I hope that people get to see this. It is
Yeah.
really really
Great.
well done,
I
and
mean,
really,
if
it was
for
good.
nothing more, the performances were all kick-ass,
Yeah.
all of them. So,
Yeah, I thought so
I
too.
mean, the performances were amazing.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I'd like to see more of her, Isabel. She's
Totally.
she's totally she's
Yeah.
right up there. So.
Now,
Well, when I heard that the guy who made Yellowstone saw Run, Hide, Fight, and that's why he cast her in
Is she in
18.
Yellowstone?
He's in she's one of the stars of one of his things.
Oh, I didn't know. Oh,
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know. I've never watched Yellowstone. I should, but I've never seen it. So.
yeah.
But no, she's
Yeah, it's one of
very
his offshoots that he was producing. He
Yeah,
cast her. So.
she's talented. Yeah.
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 Everybody was good.
She
Every
carried the film.
performance was
She
good.
basically carried the whole film. So
Yeah.
it's her and the kid.
Yeah, I love that saying that if you want to, your bad guy has to be just as powerful and just as good as your good guy, basically, to simplify things. And I think that's your movie is only as good as your bad guy, and I thought he did a great job.
Oh yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, the two of them carried the film. It's like, they're butting heads and what they're doing, but they both carried the film. So.
Yeah, he's a great kid. Eli Brown is his name, and he just came in and he kind of has this James Dean cool thing in person and hadn't even acted that much, but came in and didn't do what everyone else was doing in the auditions. Everyone else would come in to play the role of Tristan, and they were all doing this kind of like Heath Ledger Joker thing, like it was all like overly delicious in their mouths, and I'm like, and I started to get again pretty worried, like you do in casting, like, oh fuck, what am I doing wrong? I guess this part I didn't write it correctly, and then Eli came in and just kind of did it with a little, just kind of an empty-eyed special thing that was special to him, and I was like, holy shit, that's it. We got it.
Yeah, I mean, he played it like a normal person, like
Yes,
as if
right.
all that was perfectly normal for him to do.
Exactly.
But I mean, his cohorts weren't so normal, but he played it like this is what I do.
Yes.
And without ever thinking about what's going to happen. We all figured at some point you're going to get busted, but he didn't consider that at all. And
Well, he thought he had
never,
everything figured out.
but it never seemed to even
Yeah.
cross his mind that this is going to end at some point. So
I think we all
I do-
want to be like her. We all think we're going to be like her in those situations. And I think that's why it was, it was so good and so gripping. I mean, she's amazing talent, but I think all of us want to be like her.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I think that's I mean, she's certainly the protagonist. It's like that.
But that we would
all-
have that integrity
we all
to go
we
out
all
and,
root- we
and
all
help
rooted for
everyone
her,
to
yeah.
get them out.
Yeah.
Totally.
And you're rooting for her from every
Oh,
step
yeah.
of the way. So
I remember being worried with Eli because he was so attractive. That's another thing in casting. But I remember my wife said, like, he has to be. She's like, people don't follow someone. She's like, that's part of the charm, that if he's going to have the band of misfit toys there, it's fine. He should be someone too who's using his attractiveness for nefarious means rather than just like,
yes.
And I'm like, I like that. So.
Yeah, because the
Yeah,
creepy
yeah.
guy with a pockmarked face and, that wouldn't have.
Yeah.
No, the casting was great.
Well,
because
yeah,
he
we
was
would have
good-looking.
just
I
liked
agree
him
with
right.
your wife.
I mean, we
Yeah,
would have made
yeah.
judgment right from the get-go. With
Right.
Kyle, we weren't sure who this person was and where he's
Yep.
coming from. So
Yep.
like,
Okay,
what
I have
drove
one
you to-
question.
Yeah.
only
The
one?
deer didn't really die in the beginning, did it?
Who?
Oh,
The
in the
deer-
very beginning, the deer did die, but I asked a hunter was going out to cull the herd because it was on a deer farm.
Oh,
And then I wasn't sure about actually filming it for that shot. And he said, well, I'm going to, he has a taxidermy shop. He's like, I'm then going to carve up the deer and part of the meat is going to a couple old age homes in the area and the rest of it's going to families in need. And I was like, okay, I think I feel pretty good about filming this. Cause he's like, I'm doing it anyway. I'm doing it. He even said, I'm doing it Friday at 5:30 in the morning. If you want to be there with your cameraman, you can, but if not, I'm doing it anyway. And I was like, okay. So,
wow.
I mean, that was the long shot. But then we had a fake deer.
For the close-up,
Yeah.
Okay, I feel much better now.
Yeah. No, I definitely got some hate for that too. Like, is that true? Whatever. Is that true that you really killed a deer? Which, yes, I filmed someone actually shooting a deer, but I reconciled it with myself because of the good that it did. And, I guess a vegan could really come at me and like, not even meat is, but okay. So.
Well,
plus
but the
he was
deer
gonna do it
population.
he was going to do it anyway. So
Yeah,
that's
he's
the
going
other
to do it
side.
anyway.
Yeah.
They even
But
said the guy had it all down. He's like, this one needs to be killed. We can tell by the horns that he has already mated 3 times. I mean, he would do He's like, if the deer is left alive, it's. We think it might have such and such disease, and it could get into the rest of the herd. I was like, okay. So,
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I never heard it put that way before, but people hunt deer every day, so it's like
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a hunter, but they
Putting
do,
it that way, that makes sense. And the people that I know that are hunters, they know. They're like, oh no, that one's got to go. So, and we all know that deers can overpopulate. So.
Yeah. Also, any hunters and outdoorsmen, outdoors people that I know, they care way more and are more fastidious about the environment than anyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, they are in it every day, caring for it. They don't just blast and go. I mean, this guy was so, he really cared. So.
Yeah.
And now at the end, I don't want to give away the film, but.
We did.
When Kyle, we kind of are. When Kyle was in the position he was in, she had the option with the rock.
Oh yeah, when Tristan was in the river there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to tell everything, but she had that option, and everybody thought that that's what's going to happen, but it
totally,
didn't. Yeah, but that was I like that it didn't happen, but.
I try and do that from a writing perspective, is to try and bookend the movie. I like that if I can, even if it's just a shot. If it's someone dives into a pool in the first scene, and someone dives into the ocean, or some ocean wave crashes in the last scene. That's a terrible example, but that kind of thing where you just try and.
Yeah. I mean, it worked because she kind of left him to the authorities, at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. Right.
And let him pay his dues the right way. She left it for that, which was good. So
Yeah, because killing is a mercy in a lot of
yeah,
ways. Then
yeah,
it's over. But no, this guy should live with what he did and go
yeah,
see
and
justice.
that's what she did. It was great. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you write, Kyle, are you envisioning those characters, or are you just writing for the character? How does that process work? Are you thinking about that girl and what she looks like and all of that, or you're just writing the dialogue?
I guess a little bit of both. Not so much what they look like. A little bit. I guess it sounds so cheesy, but yeah, closing my eyes and envisioning watching the movie already as if it's already done, and what would making it for myself first. So what would happen here that I find interesting? A lot of people write with stars in mind with actors. I don't. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I
you
want to
do.
write roles that would attract good actors, but I don't. It messes me up a little bit. Like, let me envision Nick Cage here and do that. I can't do that, but I can. I just work on scene by scene, writing scenes that I find are engaging or interesting. Yeah.
Well, but see, but by doing that, you found you found this girl
Yes.
who was phenomenal. Like
Yes.
because you didn't have somebody, she showed up and blew it away. Like just
Totally. Yeah.
she owned it. She owned it, and that's like.
Yeah.
But would you have found her had you been stuck on one person that's somebody else? So like
Yeah.
would you? Yeah. So,
Yeah. Right. Even if I'd been like, I must be a brunette or I don't know, something
yeah.
cheesy, but
Yeah.
no.
But
Yeah.
she
No. I
was.
always go very open, and I guess that's the wooey part. Is I just trust that it's the right person who's going to walk
Yeah.
through the door
Yeah.
and find the project.
Boy, she was. I mean, having seen it, I can't picture anybody else doing it.
Yeah.
She was.
No.
She was that.
She's
She
so
was that
good.
good. Yeah. She
Yeah.
was
I
good.
agree.
And her emotions were all over the place. I mean, she had to.
Yeah.
She had to be terrified. She had to cry. She had to fight. She had to do everything. But she had
Yeah.
to do everything, and she did it all pretty well. Like,
And there's a lot of
I,
very fine talent, local Dallas, Texas talent that I was impressed with. Like I like all the interstitial, all the smaller parts. I think are also very good. And I would
yeah.
just, I would do I watched almost 1,000 local things on tape, and then, we shot it 6 months before COVID, but it was like, and I was here doing pre-pro, and I said, can you now come to the school? And I would just kind of walk the halls with. If someone had 5 lines, I wanted to meet them and kind of
Oh,
get
cool.
to know them a bit. And sometimes
Now,
it would help me decide between one or the other person.
now,
So.
now Isabel wasn't local, was she?
No, she was LA.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I
and
thought.
yeah, a lot of the larger parts are LA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
She impressed me. I'll tell you.
She's great.
Yeah.
They all just seemed normal.
Yeah,
It didn't feel like acting. And thank you that the hero was a woman, you know?
yeah,
Well, that too.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I could see myself doing that because, I'm a little butch, but I like that. I mean, I was like,
Yeah.
yes, girls can do that. They can rise to that level just as much as a guy could. So,
totally. Yeah.
yeah. So
And I like
mean-
that she's badass, but there's a whole emotional part of her character that she needs to solve this, and I kind of like that.
well, especially
Well, I
with
mean-
her friend. What was his name?
The black
The
guy.
black kid.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But that was significant too.
It was when she drags him and says, "No, get up, come on."
Yeah.
She wants to save him, and then
What?
their little, the little back and forth that they did. You could see the emotion in her. That it's like, well, we have more to do, and that's,
Well, but
Yeah.
the whole fact that she was in that relationship said something about her character because
yeah,
we're in Texas and you're
Yeah.
dating a black guy. That's obviously
Yeah.
your dad doesn't like it, and obviously the kids don't like it. But that said something about her right from the beginning. It's that she was like, screw that, I like him, and that's what it's going to be. So,
Yeah, we're
yeah.
friends.
He's on a big show. Ollie is his name, Ollie Charlatan, and I called him to get off from the part, and he was not living in his car, but he was almost. He was really kind of between jobs, and he had a good friend, and he was staying from college, staying at the good friend's house. He was just so delighted. I was like, "Do you want to come be this part?" He's like, are you?
Oh,
Yeah, you know, he was.
yeah.
And again, I wasn't sure between a couple actors, but I called him and we talked for about a half an hour, and it was the personalities are very important to me. Just what
Oh,
someone
yeah.
is, yeah, and it was. He has a lovely personality, and I just knew, oh, this is going to be fun and interesting, and yeah, yeah,
And
No.
he had to play so much of it, not saying a word, just holding
yes,
that
totally,
tone. He had to play a lot of just his looks, and you could tell that when he was scared that this guy was going to murder somebody, and he was
yeah,
filming, and you could see all that in his, where he wanted to even say something and he couldn't. So,
right. The position he's in is just
oh
terrible.
yeah,
You
it
know?
was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he played that pretty well. So.
Well, especially
I
with the
agree.
Spanish teacher. I mean, he's trying to
Oh, yeah.
do
Yes.
everything. Yeah, I mean, just Kyle still so well
Yeah.
done.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah,
Just
casting
amazing.
it deserves a lot more attention than it's getting. So.
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
And I hope
Yeah,
it
good
gets
job.
out. And when it does, you've got to let us know because we want to
Yeah, we'll
blast
do.
this out.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many scripts do you have going at one time? Do you have like one that's mostly done and then you're starting? How does that process work for you?
No,
as a
I'm
writer?
pretty much I'm slow. First of all, like I wrote one, I finished one in the spring that I'm excited about, and right now I'm on page 40 of something. So I write. I need to speed up because I only maybe write 2 a year that I really like.
Yeah, but
Uh,
is that bad? Is that I don't know what.
I don't know. Who knows? I only
I
know
don't
how I
know,
do it,
yeah.
but I think screenwriters are maybe more prolific than I am. I just go very slowly. So.
Are they though? I don't know. I couldn't.
Yeah, I don't know either,
Yeah.
but I know. It's like sex. You only know how you do it. So.
Yeah, I guess that's
And
true.
very well, I might add. No.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, I would think that a screenwriter writing a good script would take time. I don't think they could pump unless you're writing episodic for TV or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I
even
mean,
if you get a feature deal at a studio, what do you have like 5 to 6 weeks or something? Which
Is
yeah,
that-
maybe
is
those deadlines are good to like, yeah, at least for turn in first draft kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, but then you
Yeah.
know as a professional that you have to do it, right?
Yes.
And you'll
Yeah.
rise to that occasion,
Yeah.
But if you have your own time, then you have your own, your own time.
So
Hey,
what
let me
kind-
ask you guys: Did you both meet on The Fugitive?
No,
No,
No.
Dennis the Menace.
no. Well, actually,
Ah.
before that, I was a prep tech at what was called
Panavision.
Victor Duncan, and it turned into a Panavision rental house.
Oh.
That's how we first met, and I met Steve on my very first day there. So,
I
Oh
would
my
come
gosh.
in. I would come in and prep, and she was working there. So
yeah.
So
And he was
then,
the only one that would really take time to answer my questions, and he was very nice to me. And not that the other guys weren't, but he just, as you know, he has very easy way about him.
Yes.
and Linda
And,
was hot too. She was hot.
Yeah.
Still
Not
is.
anymore.
No.
And we hit it off personality wise, and we've literally since Dennis the Met. Well, actually, he got my first job on Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
I
got
didn't
her
know
on
it.
I recommended her for Groundhog Day, and she did that. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I
And then-
love that you guys were on. That's a favorite movie of mine.
Oh,
Right,
yeah?
She did it. I wasn't on it. I was doing Mighty
He was
Ducks.
doing
That's
Hoffa.
No, Hoffa, yeah.
Oh wow.
And then I went up and did Mighty Ducks while you were doing Groundhog Day.
Right. And
So
then,
Linda, any stories from Groundhog Day?
well, I saw 2 edits of Groundhog Day. After the movie, we were watching dailies every day, and then I came out to L.A. and the script supervisor said, "Hey, we're going to go over to Warner Brothers," which was my very first time on any lot, and I was like, "Oh,"
Whoa.
because I love Hollywood history. I'm a
Yeah.
huge buff, and so we went there and we saw the editor's first cut, and it was 3 different days, and I thought it was fantastic. So then the movie comes out, and I asked Steve, I said, "You want to come see, to the screening of it?" And he said, "Sure." And I look at it, and it's like, it's a totally different movie.
Whoa.
So
How many days did the film cover? The
It,
final film? I don't remember.
it was only supposed to be like 3 or 4 days.
But
It took
I don't
about
remember in the
62
film.
days to film.
Wow.
It was cool. I mean, we did it in Woodstock, Illinois. Harold was great. Loved
Was
Harold.
he? Oh.
Yeah.
He's a gem. He really is. Just calm and nice, and a great guy. Bill, he was good, but he had his moments where he got to be a brat.
Yeah.
All the character actors that you saw in that, they were absolutely fantastic. The guy that was the news guy, his father was a famous comedian.
Oh.
Bob and Ray.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
He was so funny, and we did so many takes with him, and then he'd turn and he'd look and he goes, "Is that funny? Do you guys like it?" And I was like bending over laughing. And
Do you mean is that Chris Elliott? That guy,
yes, Chris
Yeah.
Elliott. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember his name.
No, that's fine.
And he was absolutely hilarious, and nobody gave him any feedback. And after I sort of got used to being on set and around, because I was mostly I was in the loader, I was in the darkroom a lot. He was walking back one day and I said, "Hi, Chris," and he goes, "You're the only one laughing." I go, "Well, because it's funny,
Yes.
but really good cast and crew. And then
Yeah.
I went on. I got a call from Steve. Would I like to be the loader and Dennis the Menace? And then we
Awesome.
worked together for almost 20 years.
Oh my god! And I just had brunch with Tom Ackerman like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Where?
I was my wife's family's in Greensboro, and he's right in Winston Salem, so it's like a 30-minute drive. So,
Yeah,
and I've seen him on and off. Usually around Christmas, I'll see him, but I happen to be there this summer. So
Yeah, we visited him a couple of times down there, and in fact, we did a pretty nice interview with him for our film seminar. We did a nice
great.
interview from the DP standpoint because he's
It's-
pretty knowledgeable, and
Yeah.
he had a lot of really good comments. And,
yeah, we talked a
from-
lot about Jumanji, and he was telling some stories I hadn't heard.
Yeah, a
but
lot
he's-
of effects in that.
Yes, that
Yeah.
still looked good. That's what we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he just he understands the process so well, and he really had some good insight in the interview, like in terms of the people you have to work with on the set. And, I
Yeah.
talked about how important the first AD is, and how they're
Yeah.
like the guts of everything. Now, who was your AD on the film in Texas? Who was your first AD? So I didn't look at that credit.
It was
So
a female, wasn't it?
Yes, I need to remember her name. Sorry, I'm blanking on her name
that's
right
okay,
now.
but
So.
I shouldn't have put you on the spot
Well,
like that.
to,
But
to get all that
that's a big
going.
deal.
And,
That's a big deal. So.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I will say, I was just talking to it's funny, the Fugitive connection, but one of my favorite things ever said to me in the business was by an editor on The Fugitive, a guy named David Finfer, who he sadly has passed away. And there was like 6 editors on that because they were trying to rush that for the holidays. But
Well,
he did.
Andy Davis too. He shot everything inside. So
Oh, then yeah.
Andy.
But
shoots
We
lots
shot
of-
every angle.
Tom Ackerman shot Infestation for me in Bulgaria, and we were back in LA editing it, and the edit needed some help. We brought in David Finfer for a couple weeks, and I was explaining, well, this scene, you're not getting it from this scene, but this is how I really wanted it to go, and I was explaining just in depth all these layers, and he's like, well, Kyle, here's what we're gonna do. Let's write a brochure of everything you want the people to know, and we'll leave it on the seat. We'll leave it on every seat of the theater. And I was like,
who said that?
David
editor.
Finfer, the editor from Fugitive, and it was such a mean thing to say, but it really was a great lesson because I'm like, yeah, man, if it's not on the page, it's not on the stage, as they say, or whatever. But he ended up helping my writing because I'm like, yeah, I need to find ways to be clearer, find ways to shoot things that are more geared for the emotion that I'm going after, that kind of thing. So.
Well, The Fugitive, they were writing
made
that
The
and
Fugitive,
shooting
yeah.
it at the
But
same
he
time.
I mean, the editing made that film, and because
Yeah.
Andy shot everything, and I mean, David had his work cut out because
Wow.
with Andy, it was like how many ways can we do this? And
Well, it
we
was-
did it every way possible.
One day we got there and they were bringing in, it was Panavision, and all of a sudden all this Aries stuff comes in. And the producer's like, no, we made a deal. And he goes, yeah, but I just thought if we had more cameras.
Yeah, right.
Because he'd
Wow.
come on and he'd say, "How many cameras
which
do I
means
have
more
today?"
people. Yeah. How many
That's
cameras do I-
amazing.
Yeah.
He was all about coverage. And,
Yeah.
It's such a good move, final product. I mean, it's a
Yes.
very good movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
and
is.
Harrison had his hand in a lot of that, in the writing and decision making, from what I've.
Harrison was great to work with. So.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
I mean, those scenes, the scene of him like getting out of that building, and getting his foot caught in the glass doors or whatever. I mean, that's just such a good. There's some really cool action stuff there.
Well, and the whole train stuff.
Yes.
That was
Still
that
there,
was our
by the
first
way.
night there.
That train is still there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Next time you're in North Carolina, you can go there. It's still there. They left it. They left it as a tourist attraction.
Oh my
And
god. What
now-
town is it in?
I forgot the name of the town. It's north of Winston Salem. It's north of Asheville because we were staying
Asheville.
in Asheville. I forgot. But if you look
you
up
Google it.
locations, if
Whoa.
you Google locations for The Fugitive, now it used to be where they let people go down, but it's starting to rust and get dangerous. So it's a little more restricted now. But there are ways to get down there. So
That's
back
so
ways
cool.
but it's still
All right,
there.
I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, it's still there. It's crazy. Because when I tried to go through the proper way through the railroad yard, they wouldn't let me in. But he said, "Well, if you go around the backside, you can cut down in there." Because they stopped letting
Ooh,
people
that-
in.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
They
interesting.
took the engines out and basically the train was pushed. So
Whoa.
there's
Oh,
no
I didn't know-
engines
I didn't
in there.
know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But it's all there just the way it crashed. So
That's amazing.
it's still laying there. So.
Yeah. I think Steve had one of the most difficult, but one of the most interesting shots in that movie, and it's where Harrison is climbing out from underneath where the locomotives are, and you just start to see his hand on the grass or the greenery, and then all of a sudden Cofield's hand, Eddie Bow, the black
Yeah.
gentleman's hand comes in, and then that was a difficult shot. And to me, when I see that, it's like that was just I don't know, something about that made the connection in the movie for me.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was a hard. I mean, it was a pretty hard focus show, but I wasn't the only one. Me and Zorn were the two focus pullers, but I think I've had harder shows, but that was pretty tough. So.
It was,
Wow.
we were just constantly moving. I mean, it was one of those shows where I think they paid us a little above scale because when I went into the office, I was like, "Oh, we're getting a little bit more," and she goes, "Yeah, because they're going to beat you up." And I was like,
and they did.
"Okay,
And they did.
yeah, they
At least
did,"
they
but
do it. At least they recognized that. So,
yeah,
yeah.
That's
I
cool.
mean, my first film was Blues Brothers, and
Oh my.
and then I did The Border with Jack Nicholson right after that,
Oh.
which is pretty timely now. I tell people that they should
Yes.
watch that film now because it's
Yes.
about a border patrol guy protecting this woman trying to get across the border. It's pretty timely now. And
I need to see. All right, yeah, because that's a Jack Nicholson blind spot for me, the border. So I want to see
the
that.
border, yeah, but it really works today. It's very relevant today. And then I did Terms of Endearment after that. So that was a big deal. And The Outsiders with Coppola.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
And you did
Oh,
Rumblefish too.
Rumblefish too, yeah.
So tell me,
you-
what's your opinion of Coppola, and then what was it like with Jack Nicholson?
Jack is very professional. I mean, he's very easy to work with, and I mean, he doesn't do a lot of chatting on the set, but he's very easy, and he'll tell you if he needs marks, and like sometimes you'll start to mark him, and he'll say no when he doesn't want them. Like he knows what he's doing, and but
Yeah, wow.
he's pretty easy to work. I've done 3 films with Jack, so that one, Terms of Endearment, and then Hoffa. So
Oh wow, that's
yeah,
cool.
So I've worked with him 3 times. So but he's pretty easy to work with. And then when we were doing Terms of Endearment, when we started in Houston, he's a big Laker fan, and he bought tickets for the whole crew to go see a Lakers Houston basketball game. We had a whole section where he bought tickets for everybody. So that was
Wow.
kind of fun. That was
Awesome.
kind of fun. So yeah, that was fun.
My buddy Corin Nemec, he's an actor, and he was in Tucker as a young for Coppola. And I said, what was it like being directed by him? He's like, it's like being directed by Santa Claus. Been working with him, he loved it.
But see, now Coppola on The Outsiders and Rumblefish directs from the motorhome. So he's inside the Silverfish, and there's a big speaker on the set, and we keep the camera trained on the action so he can watch it. But he's watching everything from inside, and sometimes with the kids, like that made him crazy sometimes because they, like, where is he? Like, sometimes he'd come out, but it made him it made the kids crazy sometimes because they were only hearing his voice through this loudspeaker, and it was always really loud.
When I saw Tom Ackerman, who was on One from the Heart.
Yes.
I said I said he operated. I think, and I said, was it weird that Coppola was in his trailer? And he's like, no, he didn't think it was strange. I guess at least for the crew, but
no, I didn't think it was strange. But these young kid actors they had a hard time dealing with it. But the plus side of that is that when we started The Outsiders, he took all the actors all through Tulsa, and he did the whole movie with them in the locations with video, and got them used to the locations. So he got them used to the places they were going to be, and he went through the whole movie with them on video because he was one of the forerunners with video, and so he knew that was coming, and but he did the whole film with them before we even started shooting. So
that is fascinating.
Yeah, it was to have the time to do that was a big deal for one.
Yeah, that guy, he's a visionary for sure.
Yeah, yes. But yeah, I liked working with him, and then there were days when he would go in the craft service or into the vehicle where we make lunch for the crew sometimes.
That's so awesome.
He'd go in and make lunch, and it was great. And I remember having a party at my house. I had an apartment I was renting because I was there for 7 months. He came to the party, to the house, and he came to my house and mingled with the crew. It was great. So, there was one moment we were out on the balcony. He goes, "Whose house is this anyway?" And I was he didn't know his name. I said, "It's mine." But he was pretty, and his family was all there. The two sons, one of them has since died, but and Sophia was like 12.
Oh my God.
She was in both films, but they were great. They were all there. So.
Yeah, I've heard it said, and I think it's good, but never trust a director who can't cook. I think they probably do that.
Can you cook?
Cooked, and he
I can cook. Yeah.
Yeah, he loved
because it's a lot of the directing is hosting. I feel like it's almost like you're hosting a party. Like, hey, have you met so and so? And you're facilitating things.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But he was definitely that person. He loved to cook. So.
Well, as a director, you were always approachable and nice to everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That matters.
Thanks. No, I remember having a lot of fun with you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, but that matters. To me, it matters. My when I think back of the best experiences I had, it was when it all worked and when everybody was nice to everybody, and that.
It always starts at the top.
What movie did you do with us again? No, I'm kidding. Where did we meet you before? I'm kidding.
Also, Battle at Shaker Heights we did together, but then we're also being followed around by Betacam.
Yeah, that too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Really
Don't
weird.
you remember that?
Yeah, that was...
Yeah.
And their mission was to find us, to find us screwing up.
I don't know if you know this, but they would literally come to us and try to dig up problems and pit each other against one another. That's what they were doing with us.
Yeah, that sounds about right. They were doing that on our level too.
Yeah, I bet. I think they finally stopped kind of bothering us too much because we were a professional crew, and I don't think they knew that in the beginning because it was Project Greenlight. But they thought that we were going to be fumbling around, and they finally kind of stopped bothering us and going in other directions.
Well, it really stopped. When we first started, Tom talked with us, Tom Ackerman, and he said, "Listen, they are to never get in the way of your work. If they do, you come and talk to us." And we said, "Okay, fine." He goes, "Because I know you guys can handle yourselves."
Yeah.
Okay. So we were shooting in the surplus store in, I think that was South Pasadena.
Yeah. Yes.
And I was running mags back and forth because the camera truck was in the back because we were shooting to see out the windows. And I told the PAs, I said, I just need, when you hear that there's a mag change, yell it out, and I'm going to be running back because we were doing 500-foot mags because of the space we were in. And they were like, okay, great. And I did that once. On the second time, one of the guys with the video camera came out and blocked my way, and he said, so where are you going? And I pushed him out of the way. I went back, I dropped it off. I went to Tom, and I told him exactly what happened. And he goes, fine, let's just get through the scene. I said, okay. So as soon as we get done, he pulled a guy over, and he pulled one of the producers over, and he got in their face. And he was like, you are not to impede our work.
I could see Tom doing him doing that.
Oh, yeah.
And then they just left us alone after that because they had nothing to go on. It was like, no, we're here to facilitate the director and the director photography. That's what we do.
If the guy had been worth his salt, he would have known what you were doing, and he would have got better video by just following you back and forth to the camera track and not stopping you.
That's so silly.
And remember when J-Lo and Ben Affleck came to the set?
Yeah.
Yes.
They put the camera in her face. They put the camera in her face one day, and she looked up, and it was like, she said, do you think you could get any closer? And he was like, I remember she said that. She said, do you think you could get closer? But he was like right there.
Kind of, because we know both of them from back then, I was kind of like, oh, they're getting married. It's all coming back around, and now they are just getting a divorce as of a couple days ago.
Another divorce, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's going to outdo Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's her. I don't know if that's her problem as much as his. But I heard he was going back. I heard he was kind of hanging around with Jennifer Garner again. So that added to it. So, but I don't know. Who knows?
Oh, the lives they lead, right?
When people
compared to
are
our
worth
boring
billions
ones.
When they're worth billions of dollars, who knows? So,
I don't know. I don't know if I'd wish that on anybody.
No. Yeah.
No. Well, listen, it is almost time to end. Kyle, could we do this again with you?
Of course, anytime.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so we'll get it together. We'll talk about something else because it's so nice to
talk more. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
It's so nice to talk to someone who's actually a writer and a director to be able to understand how you work and how the process is, because I know a lot of people have that question, and it's like, well, how does this happen? So maybe we can talk a little bit more about that.
Sure.
And as soon as your film is available, please let us know. We're going to put it up on our website and all over. People need to see this film. It is absolutely fantastic. The performances, the writing, the directing, editing, everything.
Well, let me ask you this question. Yeah. Right now, we saw it because we had a link to it. If people wanted to see it, if the public wanted to see the film, how would
my understanding is they'd have to get a subscription to the Daily Wire. It's on the Daily Wire site, I think. Yeah. Okay. Which is a news organization. So.
The link that we have, we're not to share that with anybody, or no?
I think that's my agent sends that around as well. So if there's someone critical that you want to share it with,
we'll talk about that further afterwards to make sure we have clearance for that.
Yeah.
So
okay. But I would like to hear more. I tend to talk too much, and as Linda will attest. But I would like to hear more about taking one example of a film and the whole process. Like you said, it takes you a while to write. So once you have that script in your hand, what's the next step, and then what's the next step, and and then when you found the location in Texas, and then what's the next step? And then you found these wonderful actors. It's like
I shot a movie last year in Utah. It's called The Roughneck. It's coming out in November on some platform. I'm not sure, but that was a movie I loved, and I set it aside, and 5 years later it got made. So sometimes you just never know. So.
Timing is everything, right?
Yeah.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll let you know. I'll let you guys know when and if that comes out as well.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
All right. All right. Anything else to promote? What about your Instagram, Kyle?
Oh yeah, no, I'm on there, and I've just been making little weekly, sometimes bi-weekly videos of about the film industry. Anything from like I might do one coming up this week on just tips for auditioning.
Oh,
You know, I've run a lot of auditions, and
oh, that's a big deal too.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
I'd like
major
to
one being to anyone out there wanting to act, just know that I want you to do your very best when you come in. It's not a staring down our nose like waiting for you to mess up. You know, it's like I'm looking for people to do their best. And so
We had a casting director once tell us that he said the actor should know the audition starts the minute you walk in the door. Not
for sure.
Not when you're headed. He said it starts. He said for me it starts the second they walk in the door. Like
Absolutely. I was even in the lobby, because sometimes I've had people out there with the clipboard signing people. I'm like, so and so was kind of a jerk. Like, oh, well then, that's it.
Yeah.
That's sometimes I talk to another team member, and that's the end of that'll decide something for me. So,
So the audition's happening even before they get the script in their hands.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
that's funny. But that's what he said. That was interesting to me.
That's great. I think it's true.
Yeah, and he also had a dog, and he said, I watched how they reacted to my dog.
Oh, that's
really
really smart.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Little tricks, right, that we know and have figured out in the business.
Yeah.
Keep your dog in the casting room.
Keep your dog in the casting room.
There was some famous director, I forget who, but he used to like to go sit in the lobby with the other actors, pretending he was also auditioning.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but you certainly find out a lot about people. Like
that might have been Mike Nichols. It might have been Mike Nichols doing some games like that. So.
Yeah,
could be.
What
is your Instagram handle?
Oh, it's K. My first initial K, and then Rankin. K Rankin Film, I think.
Okay.
K Rankin Film.
All right, we'll put it in the information, because this goes out on YouTube and to all the podcast sites. So
thanks so much.
Okay.
This is fun.
All right. Well, we will definitely have Kyle back again, and thank you so much for being on the podcast, Steve. Fantastic questions as always. From me, Linda Gacsko, we would like to say thank you. This has been Roll Camera from Film 5.0, and you can get us on Instagram, TikTok. We're on YouTube. Anywhere you get podcasts, you can find us, and all the information will be listed in all those areas for where you can listen, find out more about all of us, and check out Kyle. So, thank you so much, and we hope you stay tuned for the next Roll Camera podcast.
Thanks, everyone.